Today, we're diving into the world of startup ecosystems.
Startup ecosystems.
Yeah, those hubs of innovation that seem to be popping up everywhere these days.
They are.
But what does it actually take to transform a city into a thriving tech center?
Right.
Well, we're going to find out by taking a deep dive into the journey of Barcelona.
Okay.
This is a city that's gone from, like, typewriters to tech in just a few decades.
Mm-hmm.
How did they do it?
Yeah, and we're not just looking at, anecdotal evidence or anything here.
Right.
We're actually diving into some serious research from Universitat Oberta de Catalunya, I believe is how you pronounce it.
Okay.
They spent years analyzing Barcelona's journey,
Wow.
interviewing all the key players,
Wow.
really getting to the core of this ecosystem.
So it's not just like some dry academic paper. We're talking about real insights here
Yeah.
that we can all learn from, whether you're, an entrepreneur, an investor, or just someone who's curious about how cities can really foster this kind of innovation and growth.
Yeah, what I find so interesting is they break it down into these three distinct stages,
Okay.
each with their own hurdles and successes.
So like a journey in 3 acts.
Yeah, exactly. It's a story about having a long-term vision, strategic planning, and building a community that really supports its own.
I love it. Okay, so let's rewind the clock a bit. Late 1980s,
Okay.
Barcelona is trying to, find its footing
Yeah,
in a world that's changing really fast.
right.
And they come up with this honestly kind of radical idea.
Okay.
What if we turn this old typewriter factory into a hub for innovation?
Yeah. And that's how Barcelona Activa was born. Barcelona Activa, that's where it all began. And this is a perfect example of the first crucial lesson, right?
Okay.
You need a solid foundation.
Right. It's not just about, a cool space, right?
Yeah, it wasn't about bean bags and ping pong tables.
Right.
Although I'm sure they had those too. This was about attracting serious investors,
Right.
establishing these support organizations,
Okay.
and creating those networking opportunities. That's how ideas come to life,
So it sounds like they were playing the long game here.
100%. They knew that building an ecosystem, it takes time.
Right. It's not an overnight thing.
It's like growing a garden.
Right.
You don't just throw some seeds down and expect to feast the next morning. You've got to prep the soil, give those seedlings the right nutrients, nurture them till they can stand strong on their own. And that's what Barcelona did.
That's a great analogy. They laid the groundwork, but
Yeah.
how do you go from supporting those first few startups to creating a system that's self-sustaining?
Yeah. How does that success breed more success?
Right, because that's where things get really interesting.
That's where we get into the fascinating world of positive feedback loops.
Okay.
Now, I know that gets thrown around a lot, but bear with me here.
Okay.
This is key to understanding Barcelona's success.
All right, I'm hooked.
So, picture this. Those first startups, the ones nurtured at Barcelona Activa, they start to find their footing.
Right.
Maybe they get acquired, go public. They have what they call an exit in the startup world.
Okay, so that's where the magic happens.
Exactly. These entrepreneurs, they don't just cash out and disappear.
No.
They become mentors to the next generation of startups.
Wow.
They reinvest that capital back into the ecosystem.
Okay.
They attract the best talent who want to learn from the best,
Right.
which leads to more success stories, attracting even more investment in talent, and the cycle just keeps going.
So it's like a snowball effect, but instead of snow, it's innovation and opportunity gaining momentum.
You got it.
Yeah.
And the research actually looked at how this impacted the startups themselves.
Interesting. And what did they find?
They found that these second and third generation entrepreneurs, they actually had a higher chance of success than those first pioneers.
Wow. So it really does pay to be part of a thriving ecosystem.
Exactly. It makes sense, though. They have access to experienced mentors, a pool of seasoned talent, and investors who are now more willing to take a chance because they've seen what's possible in Barcelona.
It's like those early entrepreneurs. They didn't just build companies, they built a bridge for others to follow.
A bridge to success.
Ah.
Yeah, it really is remarkable when you think about it. As Barcelona's startup scene started gaining traction, it really began to turn heads internationally.
Yeah.
But this wasn't just, the world discovering Barcelona's charm.
Right.
It was a direct result of those well-crafted policies, those initiatives we were just talking about.
It's like they were building this incredible ecosystem, and the rest of the world just couldn't help but take notice.
Exactly.
So what were some of those key factors? What made Barcelona so attractive on this global scale?
Well, I'm sure the tapas and sunshine didn't hurt.
I mean, it never hurts.
But Barcelona offered so much more than just good food and weather.
Right.
For one, they put in place these really attractive tax incentives,
Okay.
especially for businesses in the tech sector. They knew that to compete globally, they needed to create an environment that was truly welcoming to investment.
So they were thinking ahead, recognizing that by attracting these international players, they would inject even more energy into this whole ecosystem.
Exactly. But it wasn't just about the financial incentives.
Okay.
They also focused on creating a highly skilled workforce.
Okay.
I mean, Barcelona has these incredible universities.
Right.
And they really doubled down, investing heavily in all sorts of technical training programs, making sure there was this constant flow of talented individuals.
So they had the talent, the funding, and of course, you can't forget the quality of life. That's pretty appealing to anyone, I think.
It's a pretty good package, right? And the research actually highlights how this created like a virtuous cycle.
Oh.
You have these international companies drawn in by the talent pool, the supportive environment.
Yeah.
They set up shop, and then they bring their own expertise, their networks, their capital,
Yeah. Right.
which of course fuels more growth. It's like this upward spiral.
It sounds like Barcelona cracked the code.
They really did.
So for our listeners out there, whether you're, part of a city government, an entrepreneur yourself,
Yeah.
what are those key takeaways? What should we be paying attention to?
That's the million-dollar question, right?
Yeah.
I think if we had to distill it down, it's about understanding that building a successful startup ecosystem, it's not about finding this like magic bullet
Okay.
or a one-size-fits-all solution.
Right.
It's this multifaceted thing that needs long-term vision,
Okay.
unwavering commitment from the government.
It's about playing the long game.
100%.
Mm-hmm.
And understanding how to leverage those positive feedback loops, that's where the real exponential growth comes in.
No expecting overnight miracles, I guess.
Exactly. Look, Rome wasn't built in a day.
True.
And neither was Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
Or Barcelona's startup scene, for that matter.
Right.
It took years of dedication, smart investments, and a willingness to, adapt and evolve along the way.
You mentioned government support, and we talked about it a bit earlier. How crucial is that?
It's absolutely vital. The research really drives this point home. You need a government that gets it,
Right.
a government that understands the power of entrepreneurship
Right.
and actively creates policies to support it. And we're not just talking about throwing money at the problem.
It's about creating an environment where these startups can really thrive.
Exactly. It's about cutting through red tape,
Okay.
creating tax structures that incentivize investment,
Right.
fostering a regulatory environment where innovation can flourish, not get bogged down by bureaucracy.
Right. So being a gardener, but for startups.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And just like a gardener needs to know which plants need what,
Yeah.
policymakers need to understand the specific needs of their local startup ecosystem. What works in Barcelona might not be the right fit for, another city or region.
It's about finding your own strengths then.
Exactly. It's about identifying what makes your city or region unique and then tailoring your approach accordingly.
We've talked about Barcelona's amazing transformation. They went from typewriters to a tech hub. Makes you wonder, could any city pull that off? What do you think?
Well, that's what I love about this research. It's not just about Barcelona. It's like a roadmap, a set of guidelines that anyone can use.
So not just copying them, but understanding the why behind it all.
Exactly. And it all starts with knowing what you've got.
Right, like taking inventory. What makes your city stand out?
Yeah, what are your strengths? Maybe you've got industries ripe for disruption, a killer university churning out grads, or even a vibrant arts scene. Those are all seeds for a startup ecosystem.
And then you got to nurture those seeds, right?
Exactly. Think back to what we've been talking about. Strong government support, access to money, a good environment for mentorship. Oh, and don't forget, quality of life. Can't underestimate that.
People want to live somewhere cool.
Huh?
Makes a difference. And those feedback loops, that's huge, right?
Huge. Creating that energy where early wins bring in more talent, more investment.
It's like success is contagious.
It really is. And a big part of that is community. Building a place where people want to help each other succeed.
Not just competing all the time.
Exactly. Celebrating those wins, encouraging mentorship. That's how you get that magic going.
So to everyone listening who's thinking, hey, my city could do this, it's possible.
Absolutely.
It takes work, dedication, and people united behind a shared vision.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Exciting to think about all the possibilities out there.
And there you have it. Barcelona's journey has so many lessons for anyone wanting to boost innovation. If you'd like to learn more, we've got links to the research and more in our show notes.
Yeah, definitely check those out.
Until next time, keep those creative sparks flying. You never know, the next